Hey, Legacy Venture Group team, this is Brian, and I'm sharing with you a tool that we've got, and we're going to be improving upon this as we go. So I want you to play around with it, have fun with it, etc. But this is going to give you some goals and tools to understand how to make the money you're trying to make, and give you some ideas of exactly what you need to do in order to get there. So this is an Excel spreadsheet, and this is video number 1 of 2 of them. So I'm going to put down in this column, and you're going to see the same thing that's over here. That's the second one. So you can set your goals here, what you want to do, but every once in a while you can play around and enter some numbers. So let me show you some numbers that you're going to enter. First of all, you can plug or enter numbers into anything in the light blue area. Light blue area only. Don't enter anything into all these other areas. Light blue only. So what I say? Light blue only. Okay, good. I'm messing with you guys. All right. So here you enter in how much you want to make for the year, the next 12 months. Forget going from January to December. That's old school thinking. Think today with your new goals and objectives and go forward with what you want to do. So I put down $150,000 as a pretty good objective. Remember, you got expenses and taxes and other things, so it's not like you're getting $150,000 to shoot at the beach. You still got to pay taxes, but I'm putting a number on there, and that might be a good number. Then look at the average commission. I picked about $15,000, and again, these are 2 numbers I just pulled out just to begin to do the analysis, so you can change any one you want. Make this $100,000, make this $10,000. It doesn't matter. Okay. I also know that for a lot of people, we're at a 75% commission, so you get 75%, and legacy and expenses, you get the other 25%, et cetera. It goes to somewhere. If you're on a different scale, if you're 50-50 or whatever, put in the proper number that you're going to get in there, and that's going to tell you the size of the total commission of the businesses that you need to get to. Again, you're going to be making this, total commission is this. It's going to tell us, well, don't we typically get 10% of the sale? And we do. Sometimes we charge more or less. It doesn't really matter, but I'm putting 10%. That means the average sold price of the businesses need to be $200,000. Again, in the dark blue, it'll automatically calculate it. And if you're at 12% now commissions, you can change this number. It's going to make it a little easier to get to your goal. If you think you're going to be doing $30,000 commissions, then that's easier to get to the goal in terms of numbers. Okay, $20,000, $200,000 is the sold price. If businesses sell for 2.5 times earnings, that means that the earnings were $80,000, right? I just put a plug and play average. What? How did you get there? I figure businesses often sell between 2 to 3 times, sometimes more or less, but in general, that's a good number. And so if I figured out what times 2.5 gives me 200,000, the number is 80,000. Let's also say, well, how much do businesses generally make as profit? I put down 12.5%. If you're calling them service businesses or lean businesses or franchises and stuff like that, the number might be higher or lower, but this is that seller's discretionary earnings. See, I would average SDE. Again, averages. In the light blue, you can enter information, don't in the blue, right? In the dark blue. Nonetheless, okay. You've got the 12.5%. What this is getting to is going to back it in saying, well, what is the size of the business that I need to be working on? So if you're dealing with businesses that are making $150 or $250 or $300,000, you're going to have to do a whole lot more work to get to your goal number. On the other hand, you could say, I want to sell only 20 million and 50 million bazillion-dollar businesses, and they might just be out of your league or not available or not as plentiful, but there's plenty of businesses that have gross sales between $500,000 and $1 million. Okay, so the good, solid, easy to turn over, and these are ones people can afford. People can afford a $200,000. They can afford a $300,000 or $400,000. The average person has between $50,000 and $100,000 to put down on a business, and they hopefully will get one that's good enough to go to an SB lender. We can make even bigger businesses. Okay. Anyway, so 640 is a good price range. Therefore, you say, well, to get to this number of my 150, and I'm making 15,000, how many do I need to get to? Well, we already did the plug and play in bright yellow saying 10, and we're reaffirming it down here going 10. But do you sell everything you list? No, probably not. So I put down a 60%. If you're more confident, if you're only taking really, really great businesses, you might change that to 90%. And if you, on the other hand, have been getting started and you might be taking some lower stuff, and change that number accordingly. But that tells you if it's 60%, instead of to sell 10, I'll need 17 in my portfolio. And by the way, when I go to a listing, does every person sign up right away with you? Probably not. Maybe you shouldn't even be taking people. I know one of the guys out, Len Crick, said that they only took 1 out of 5 businesses. So maybe change that to 20%, right? But anyway, nonetheless, it's going to give you an idea of how many businesses you need to list altogether. And so, or to visit rather, this is for the meeting. It says meeting right here. So in order to get to 17, if you're listing 50, you'll need to visit 34 people. Okay, easy enough, right? 34 a year, 3 a week, 3 a month, about, and round these numbers up, at least 1 a week. That would be helpful, but you can have some weeks where you're not making that much money visits. Nonetheless, so wow, so how many do I have to call on in order to get that? So if you're doing cold calling, let's say you think you're only going to get 10% cold calling, 2% out of all the people you call. So, for every 100 people you call, right, that 2% means 2 people will say, hey, come see me. Then you're going to get turned down by half of them, and then you're going to get a deal, right? So it can be kind of a frustrating deal. Nonetheless, if you're going to try mail marketing, and that's the other common way that I see, and for mailing, I'm also talking about night drops, which are less expensive, postcards, letters, etc. I put down a 0.2%, not 2%, not 20%, 0.2%. So, out of every, out of every 1,000, you get 2 people responding. And that's probably a reality number. But the other good thing is to keep notes. Now that you're thinking about this, keep notes and track to see the reality of yourself. But if at 2%, that means you will send out 17,000 hits during a year. That seems like an awful lot. And then you look at every month, 1,417. That seems like a lot. But then you get down to, on a weekly basis, that's 354. That means you could drop off every day, 75 cards, go to a couple different shopping centers and get it done, and you'd be surprised how responsive a lot of people are, especially during these days. Nonetheless, this is a little quick tool. We're going to go to a second show that'll go into this other calculation piece, but for the time being, you can get a lot of insight, little wisdom, and some guidance as to what you want to do by looking at this one sheet. The earning calculator is going to be under the commission calculator draft. I'm calling it draft because I want feedback. I want to improve upon this, etc. And I put down here where you can set one goal, and then you can come over here and you can say, I want, $5 million or whatever. Who knows? If you do, you have to change the margins a little bit, right? Nonetheless, forget about that for the moment, unless you think you can do all that. But nonetheless, it'll tell you how to get to make $5 million a year. I don't know if you got time to knock on 1,160 doors every week, but nonetheless, this gives you an idea, right? So I'm going to put this back down to $100,000 before I send it out. This is what it's going to look like when you get it. Give me some feedback. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.